A bill to ban the smacking of children is currently on its way through the Scottish Parliament. It has the support of the Scottish Government and MSPs from across the chamber. But today, Holyrood's Equalities and Human Rights Committee heard evidence from interested parties who clashed over the issue and the impact smacking has. One of those giving evidence was the sociologist Dr. Stuart Waiton, who opposes the bill. We brought him together with Joanna Barrett, the Policy and Public Affairs Manager at the NSPCC. Stuart, to you first of all, is banning smacking not a sign of a civilised society?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's a sign of quite an immature society that can't distinguish the difference between children and adults. So we hear the argument that you don't think it's okay to slap your wife or beat your wife. Why is it all right to smack a child? And for me, that shows a real confusion about what a child is and what an adult is. Children do lots of things, and we restrict children from doing lots of things in lots of ways that we would never think about restricting adults in. So, for example, if you grounded your child and said you're not going out of the house for a week, if you did that to your partner, you would be committing a criminal offence, and nobody would think that that's acceptable. But if you ground your child, that would be, that's something that people do. So I think there's a real confusion in society, a real lack of maturity about being able to be nuanced and being able to see that, if somebody does that to a child, or even harder, or smacks their bottom, that is not violence, right? That is not child abuse. And that is what this law is now going to say, that you are a criminal if you do that to a child.
Joanna, I'll get you to respond to those points. It says you're lacking the nuance, and it's a sign of maturity that we can differentiate between these kinds of behaviour.
I think the nuance that we're missing in this whole debate is exactly what this piece of legislation proposes to do. There is a defence in our criminal law which says that if a case gets to court, a parent can claim that an assault on a child was justifiable in terms of physical punishment. So what Stuart is saying that the law will say is not, in fact, what the law is supposed to do. And I would say that changing this law would be a progressive step in terms of meeting the aspirations that this country has in terms of being the best place to grow up. We can't be the best place to grow up if we have this on our statute books.
But what difference will it make? I mean, why is it needed, Joanna?
We know that physical punishment happens regularly in Scottish homes. We know that it is declining, and indeed it's declining in most countries in the world. What the evidence tells us is that where you change your legislation, that hastens a decline in its use, but also it makes it clear to everyone what our society expects, and most importantly makes it clear to children that they will be free from any type of harm.
Is it not worth doing for those reasons alone, Stuart?
Well, if you want to arrest parents or have parents frightened of what the teachers might think or what neighbours might say or that the police might come round because of that, then that's great. Right? If you want to undermine parents' authority and autonomy, if you want to make them feel insecure, if you want to make them feel confused about something that they know in their hearts does not harm their children, then fine, go ahead and do this.
But do you think that will actually happen, Stuart?
Well, we are going to be criminalising that. That will be a crime. I mean, this is a problem. Half the time we're saying we're not really criminalising parents. We are criminalising that act. We are saying that is criminal. If you do that, you are an abuser of children. Well, that is what this act is saying.
Joanna, let's be clear, will someone really be criminalised for smacking their child like that?
This is the removal of a defence. This is not the creation of an offence. So we are not saying X is a criminal act. What we are saying is that if you get to court, and that has to have gone through the police, it has to have gone through the Crown, there has to go through public interest tests. If you get to that case, that position, then a parent cannot claim that an assault was justifiable. So if I hit an adult, there is no defence for me to say, actually, it was justified. If I hit my child, I can claim that that's justified, and I don't think that in itself is justifiable.
Shouldn't children just have the same rights as adults, Stuart?
Yeah, okay. Children can have the right to drive a car at the age of 4. Children can have the right to have sex with whoever they like at the age of 5.
I mean, that's taking it to an extreme, Stuart.
No, it's talking about rights. Children don't have rights. It's a confused concept. Children have protections. Adults who have the capacity to act have rights. Children don't. When we talk about children's rights, what we're really talking about is protections that we give them and that professionals give to children. It's a confused concept. And to discuss children and adults in the same way and to discuss smacking as the same as violence towards adults is immature, unworldly, and it is not what the vast majority of people in this country think. Okay,
Stuart, we heard you saying today in Holyrood that you smacked your child occasionally. I mean, why did you feel the need that you had to do that?
Well, because they would have been misbehaving particularly badly. And it's my right as a parent to be able to parent my child. Right? Which we seem to be losing this understanding that in a free society, parents are the ones that are responsible for their children, and we should support them in doing that. And as long as they're not going overboard and battering their children, we should recognise that their ability to discipline and to use mild smacking is entirely legitimate and is not a problem.
Joanna, is it not the right of every parent, and it's been going on for generations without any massive effects on people?
I think that we know more now than we have ever known about child development and what's healthy for children. We have a wealth of evidence that smacking or physical punishment is harmful at a population level. So this is not about individuals. This is not about it never did me any harm. This is about at a population level, there is overwhelming evidence that this is potentially harmful to children. What it also is clear is that it doesn't do children any good. So why would we, as responsible citizens, allow our legislation to infer that this is an okay behaviour? It's not effective as a discipline tool. It is linked to many negative outcomes for children. And I think if we're really serious about children's rights, and I think it's a ridiculous argument to suggest that children are not rights holders, and if we are serious, which certainly our Scottish Parliament makes it clear that we want to be the best place to grow up and that we want to respect children's rights, then this is a natural step.
And if it even protects just one child, Stuart, surely it's worth doing.
And what if it stops the protection of that seriously abused child because you're swamped with all the children who are getting a light smack, filling up cases, filling up teachers' books, having doctors and people phoning the police because they've heard that someone smacks their child. It's a crazy, crazy thing. And it's a problem that we increasingly now are expanding the remit of the criminal justice system.
Many countries across the world have made this legislation.
I'll let you
Many countries have made this legislative change. Many countries have had exactly the same debate as we're having now. And none of what is being hypothesised has actually come to fruition. What actually has been evidence is a reduction in the use of physical punishment and a reduction in very serious abuse. So I think there is a lot of scaremongering going on, which is actually the irresponsible behaviour.
And we will have to leave it there, but thank you both very much indeed for joining us this evening. Thank you.